Inflation crisis in America continues. People selling jewelry to cope, and student loan defaults. Today, I read an article on ZeroHedge.com written by Tyler Durden, likely a pseudonym for writers at Zero Hedge, titled, Where U.S. Inflation Hit the Hardest in March 2024. According to the author, the latest U.S. inflation figures were released in early April, revealing that the Consumer Price Index had risen by 3.5% in March 2024 on an annual basis. As many of you know, Jerome Powell was in the news today talking about inflation and rate cuts. He said, there has been a lack of further progress this year on inflation. He went on to say, we can maintain the current level of restriction for as long as needed. In my opinion, that means they will hold rates steady until inflation cools. We may not get the 3 rate cuts that were discussed previously. The author of this article shared data from the BLS, which I found interesting. Specifically, the author shared CPI categories that became significantly more expensive from March 2023 to March 2024. As I share this information with you, ask yourself if the Fed is really winning the war on inflation. Video discs and other media increased 30.1%. Juice and drinks, 27.5%. Motor vehicle insurance, 22.2%. Repair of household items, 18%. Home care of invalids and elderly, 14.2%. Motor vehicle repair, 11.6%. Beef roasts, 11.2%. Baby food and formula, 9.9%. Veterinarian services, 9.6%. Legal services, 8.8%. And outpatient hospital services, 8.3%. Now think about how many millions of Americans need outpatient hospital services and veterinary services along with motor vehicle repair. Also think about how many people need car insurance or baby formula. Most people have not seen their wages increase to anywhere near the same percent as these categories that I shared with you. I realize you don't need juice and other drinks, so the 27.5% increase there may not impact you if you transition to drinking water. However, a lot of people need vehicle insurance, and that increased by 22.2%. Parents with infants may need baby formula, and that increased 9.9%. In my opinion, the Fed should not have stopped hiking rates. Instead of holding them steady, they should have continued hiking. If they are really committed to their 2% inflation target, they need to do more than just provide lip service. They need to take more action. There are some Americans who can't wait. Some need affordable rent now. Some are struggling to afford groceries. I just think the Fed could do more with the tools that they have. I'm sure they are trying to do a delicate dance so the stock market doesn't correct during an election year. Some people are coping with inflation by selling their jewelry. I read an article today on ZeroHedge.com written by Tyler Durden, likely a pseudonym for writers at Zero Hedge, titled, Americans Pour into Pawn Shops Selling Gold Jewelry as Prices Surge. According to the author, cash-strapped Americans are heading to pawn shops to sell their jewelry. The author went on to reference Bloomberg, who quoted the owner of King Gold and Pawn and Empire Gold Buyers as saying, gold selling traffic at his Fifth Avenue location in New York City has more than tripled as gold has surged 17% off its 2024 low in February to now trade near $2,400 an ounce. Well, my friends, I hope this is jewelry and gold bullion that these people acquired legally. I got burglarized in the past, and the person sold my gold and silver to a pawn shop. Fortunately, the police detective was able to get the pawn shop to surrender it as part of the investigation. Some people are not so lucky. I'm not surprised that people are selling their jewelry to get cash. Inflation is impacting just about everybody in one way or another. Many people may be tapped out. You can only rely on credit cards and buy now, pay later loans for so long. Some may have reached the point where they are resorting to selling jewelry regardless of the sentimental value. This is a sign of the times here in America during this period of high inflation. Now, here is the scariest part of this article. The author said in March, China padded its reserves with gold for the 17th consecutive month, bringing its declared holdings to 72.74 million troy ounces. You have to wonder, why are they hoarding so much gold? What are they preparing for? Are they worried about the global economy? Are they worried about their currency or perhaps the US dollar? It really makes you wonder what is going on within the Chinese Communist Party. What do you think about all this? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I read another interesting article today. This one was on foxbusiness.com, written by Nora Colomer, titled, Retired Americans with Student Loan Debt Risk Garnishment of Social Security Benefits. According to the author, roughly 3.5 million Americans 60 and older hold over $125 billion in student loans, according to a 2023 report by the think tank New America. Nearly 40% of borrowers aged 65 and older with federal loans have defaulted. Okay, my friends, I have a bit of a problem with the language that this author used. The term defaulted should not have been used, in my opinion. I'll explain why. I visited whitehouse.gov, and language on this website said, and I'll quote, the department is instituting a 12-month on-ramp to repayment running from October 1st, 2023 to September 30th, 2024, so that financially vulnerable borrowers who miss monthly payments during this period are not considered delinquent, reported to credit bureaus, placed in default, or referred to debt collection agencies. I think the author should have said nearly 40% of borrowers aged 65 and older with federal loans would be in default if it were not for Biden's on-ramp program. They may be in default after September 30th, 2024, which is about a month and a half before the presidential election. I have to wonder if we may not start hearing about all of the people who are officially considered to be delinquent until after the election. It concerns me that nearly 40% of borrowers aged 65 and older with federal student loans could be in default right now if it were not for Biden's on-ramp program. Is it just me, or does 40% seem like a really high percentage to you, especially given the fact that people who are at this age should be preparing for retirement and getting rid of all of their debt? We already know that there is a retirement crisis brewing in America because very few organizations offer pensions anymore, and many people have done a terrible job managing their own retirement due to their lack of meaningful contributions to a plan like a 401k or IRA. Now we are hearing about a high percentage of people near or past retirement age who may be in default on their student loans, resulting in garnishment of their Social Security benefits in the near future. This leads me to the next section of this article that I want to share with you. The author said, Social Security beneficiaries risk losing up to 15% of their monthly benefits to pay off their outstanding loans under the Treasury Offset Program, abbreviated TOP. Imagine reaching an age where you can no longer work because of a mental or physical problem, and all you have is Social Security to rely on, and now up to 15% of your benefit will be garnished because of your student loans that are in default. This has to be a terrible position to be in. I feel bad for people who are trying to figure out how to cope with this in the future. Many Americans are struggling financially at all ages, but I feel really bad for the elderly who are sometimes left with few options, especially if they don't have family members to help. This is a scary and tragic position to be in. According to the author of this article, lawmakers want Biden to consider ending the practice of garnishing Social Security benefits to recover student loan debts. I have to wonder if something like this would go to the Supreme Court and what they would say about it. I'm really torn on this issue. I genuinely feel bad for people who are struggling and need Social Security money to survive on, but I also feel like people who took out student loans should honor their commitment and pay back the money. Unfortunately, some people took out these loans when they were only 18 years old, and they didn't fully understand the future ramifications of the money they were borrowing. When you are 18 and your parents have provided for you up until that point in many cases, you don't always understand how hard it is to make money and how hard it is to service debt. At times, it is hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that 3.5 million Americans 60 and older still have student loans to the tune of $125 billion. Our modern world revolves around debt, and many Americans have a lot of it. Most people care about the payment and not necessarily what they are paying for something. I personally find this to be very frustrating. When I go to buy something, I don't care what the payment is. I want the best price possible for what I am going to purchase, and people that I am dealing with often look at me like I'm old and out of touch with how things are working nowadays. It really is quite disturbing to me. When did society get so comfortable with a payment for just about everything in life, with no consideration to what kind of deal they are getting on what they are buying? It baffles me. What do you think about all of this student loan debt and all of the people who may see their Social Security checks garnished in the future? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Please keep in mind that everything in this video is for entertainment purposes only, and nothing in this video is financial advice or advice of any kind. If you need advice, seek advice from a qualified professional in good standing who puts your interests first and foremost. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Please also consider sharing this video with your friends. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. Check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.